Hello everyone and welcome to Let's Play Fighting Fantasy. This is book 2, the Citadel of Chaos. Just like previously, this is going to be a 100% playthrough, meaning we are going to get to the good ending of the book and we are going to take a look at all the possible rooms and encounters that we can visit on such a playthrough. So we are going to go out of our way to enter some of the chambers and to meet some of the creatures in the Citadel. So this is not an optimum playthrough, but I hope it's more enjoyable and it definitely has more content. I'm not going to talk in detail about the books, the systems, etc. Only going to talk about the differences because if you're interested about the basic principles, I recommend you watch the playthrough of the first book. That's also on this playlist. And with that, let's begin. If you've seen the first playthrough, then you know that this might take a few retries to create our character, because the first thing we need to do is of course create our character, create our stats. We are playing once again on hardcore hero difficulty, and in this book I especially recommend you choose this difficulty level. As stated before, there are only two differences between the standard adventurer difficulty level and hardcore hero, and the only thing that differs here is the lower starting skill attribute, because the other difference, the number of provisions being lower, is actually absent. There are no provisions in this book, as I'm going to talk about this in a while. So this is not much of a difference in any case. So I highly recommend you select this even if you're playing it blind. The other thing that you need to know is that this book is kind of famous for being the easiest. If you know what you're doing, then it's one of the easiest books in the series. And this is one book which is theoretically possible to complete with just the lowest possible rolls. We are not going to take the optimum route, as I've said, so we need somewhat higher stats, but we still don't need very imposing stats, fortunately. So starting out, a stamina level of 18 is going to be sufficient for us, which is quite low. It's lower than the statistical average, so the most likely outcome, and it's still going to be enough. So let's see if that happens. Okay, we rolled 21, which is excellent. We really didn't need such a high number. Now I'm going to have to keep re-rolling if I roll a stat lower than what was needed. But anyway, this is okay so far. And our skill level is the only one that's affected by the higher difficulty setting. Just like in the previous book, instead of a 1d6 on a base of 6, it's a 1d6 on a base of 4, so anywhere between 5 and 10. And normally you would want to roll for a 10 here, because this is crucial to winning battles and to passing some attribute checks. But in this very book, I will contend with a final result of 9. Because actually I'm pretty sure you can complete it with a skill attribute of 8, but let's be safe and let's go with an attribute of 9. That is definitely going to be sufficient for us, so let's see if we manage to roll it. And we don't, but that's fine. We'll just restart the whole thing real quick. The only attribute that is truly crucial here is luck. We need a relatively high luck stat, and by that I mean 11 at least. And in this game book we don't have the luxury of a potion to take with us, so we cannot cheat the system. We really need a good luck roll that at least yields a result of 11. And yeah, with a luck attribute of 7, I don't think you can win this game book the way we are going to play it. Actually, with a luck roll of 7, you could, I think, win it. So get to the end of it on the optimum route, but that's not what we're aiming for. So this might take a while. In the meantime, I'll explain that the other difference is there is a fourth attribute in this book, which is unique to, well, not to this solo book, but there are very few game books utilizing it. It's a magic system. We need to roll how many scrolls we can take with us, spell scrolls. And spell scrolls are contextual special items, some of them, most of them, which help you during your adventure. Sometimes the book prompts you if you have a specific spell ready, and if you do, there you have extra options to choose from. Also, the basic refills, also the basic rejuvenation items, are replaced by these scrolls, so you don't have provisions, for instance. There are no portions of provisions that you can pick up in this game book or take it with you. You have scrolls of healing, stamina to be specific, scrolls of stamina, and also scroll for you can take scrolls of skill and luck with you. This means that you can start out with a really well prepared character, a well-rounded one, if you roll a high magic stat. And it means that also some of the encounters can have quite different outcomes depending on what you have on you. We are not going to take a sample of all the scrolls, so I actually have a specific list that I want to take with us on this adventure, and we don't need to have a high magic roll for that. Any surplus spell scrolls we can take with us is going to go into scrolls of healing or stamina, skill, and luck, fortune, because I just want to make sure that we have enough high enough stats when we need them. So yeah, this is the first game book that is not a cooperative project, and as you will see, this really feels like the sequel to the first one, to the Warlock of Firetop Mountain. It's set in a much smaller dungeon-like space. It's the Citadel. It's a compound. It feels much more compact and much more realistic in a sense. And the whole adventure is far more fleshed out, in my opinion. So, but the basics are almost the same. Fortunately, there is no key hunting in this game book. You only need to find one specific piece of information, and in the electric version you really need to find it. Even if you know the answer to a specific question, you are not allowed to proceed if you have not gone through a specific path. So that ties our hand pretty handily. But apart from that, you don't really get the feeling that it's that you are being railroaded into a specific route or path as much as you did with the first book. And it's awesome. We rolled pretty high stats for this character. Now we must roll our magic, and our magic is a 2d6 on a base of 6, and we need at least, well, I would like to have at least a 13 here, so that's not out of our possibilities. The highest number is 18. We definitely don't need so many. 17 is plenty. We roll we roll just one below the theoretical maximum, so that's awesome. And now it's time to choose our spell scrolls. Okay, so we have a lot of spell scrolls to take with us on our adventures, both in types, so there is a lot of variety, and we can select 17 of them. Now, as I've said, I'm going on to use a specific list. So first of all, I'm going to take 3 units of ESP, or extrasensory perception scrolls, which is in effect mind reading. This spell will allow us to tune into psychic wavelengths. It can be used, for example, to read a creature's mind. Actually, it can only be used to read a creature's mind. And we are going to take 3 of these. Thank you very much. We are not going to take creature copies with us, That's actually one of the more useful spells. It creates an exact copy of the creature you are facing, but who is allied to you. And you can get out of several encounters using one or more of such scrolls, but we don't need them. So we are not taking any of them with us. Enhanced strength is a bit misleading. You would think it raises your stat, like your skill stat or your stamina stat, but it does none of that. It's an entirely contextual spell. So in some parts of the book, you are asked if you have this scroll, and if you do, then some of the encounters or some of the events play out differently. We are not going to take an enhanced strength scroll. We don't need it. We're also not going to take Fool's Gold, which is a scroll that creates fake gold, practically. Stuff that you can give to others. Looks like gold, feels like gold, but it's just rock. I don't know why you need a spell scroll for that, but we don't need it anyway, so we're going to skip this one. We are going to take one illusion scroll, and illusion is exactly what you think it is. It creates any kind of illusion that you think hard about, and it can get you out of tricky situations. If you're going into this book blind, you might want to take some of the scrolls I script, or more of the scrolls that I'm taking with me. So for instance, ESP is not that significant, but you really would like to take some creature copies, and Fool's Gold and more illusion spells can be useful. We're also going to take one weakness spell. Again, instead of deducting points from the enemy stat, like you would think at first glance, like, you know, lowering the an adversary's stat, like skill stat or stamina stat. It's an entirely contextual spell. Sometimes you are asked to use it, if you have one, if you wish to use it, and you can avoid certain encounters or get out of tricky situations. We have taken one of them with us. We are taking two levitation spells, which allows us to float for a short while. Yeah, this is again entirely contextual. Some entries in the book ask if you have it. It sometimes can get you out of deadly situations, so it can be in certain situations a lifesaver. But yeah, we're only taking two of these. We're also taking one Mage's Fire, which is a fireball practically. Now you'd think that this is a spell scroll that's extremely useful in an enemy environment, a hostile environment, but it's not. You cannot use it during a battle, so only if the book specifically requests you to conjure up fire. It's very rarely used, and it's not available against the strongest opponents. So the final tier, the top tier creatures and enemies in the Citadel, it's totally useless against them. So this is actually one of the scrolls that I don't recommend taking at least too many with you. Shielding is somewhat similar. Shielding is useful, and we are going to take two shielding scrolls with us, actually. Shielding is exactly what you think it is. When you are in a situation that you are under some kind of missile attack, you are usually given the option to use up a shielding scroll, which protects you from projectiles. But the text also says that it's not useful against magical attacks. So once again, its usefulness kind of expires around before the end of the book, so around the 2/3 of the book. The final enemies are almost all magical, and shielding does nothing against them. And that was it. The only three scroll types that we can take with us are the restoration scrolls that I've mentioned already. These are the only way to restore your items, your stats, apart from book entries. So no provisions, no potions, no nothing. I'm going to take first of all one of each, and let's see how many we can still take with us. We can still take 4 more spell scrolls with us. That's great. I'm going to take another luck scroll and 3 more stamina scrolls. Our stats are actually pretty high, but you can never have enough healing items, as I say. And that's it. We are fully prepared for our adventure. So let's review our equipment. Okay, so this is somewhat similar to the standard set of items or equipment that we had in the Warlock of Firetop Mountain. One of the differences is that we start out without provisions. I've already talked at length about this. The other difference is that we don't have a shield, but this is actually not a real difference. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't have any effect on our ability to fight or anything really. So it's just a gimmick. It also means that we will not be able to pick up shields during this adventure. But we do have a sword, a leather armor, the infinite capacity backpack, and the lantern. So otherwise it's the same. What else is there to talk about? I think we can already check our character. So in this book, as you will very soon see, we are playing an infiltrator, and so I tried to select an appropriate portrait. We are playing an assassin, in effect, and we have rolled extraordinarily good stats, fortunately. So stamina of 20 is plenty. The theoretical maximum is 24, so this is a lot. And with the other two attributes, we rolled the potential maximum numbers, so 10 and 12. We cannot hope for any better, and this is absolutely sufficient for a successful completion of this book. We have a bunch of spell scrolls. Unfortunately, there are very few possibilities to pick up more of these, because these can be very useful. We will find some extra spell scrolls, by the way, but as I've said, they're not very numerous, so we're going to burn through a lot more than what we find. And equipment-wise, there are items you can find, or like swords and other stuff you can find in the on the grounds of the Citadel. We're not going to find many of these or many items here, but we are still going to improve our equipment list somewhat. And we have our consumables listed here, the restoration scrolls, as I've mentioned. Okay, I think we have taken a look at everything. We have mentioned and talked about everything. Let's begin. The lawful good folk of the Vale of Willow have lived for some 8 years in awe and fear of the demi-sorcerer Balthus Dyer. In awe, since his power is truly awesome, and in fear, ever since word leaked from his domain that his ambitious plans of conquest were to commence with the Vale itself. A faithful half-elf sent on a spying mission to the Black Tower came galloping back to the Vale 3 days ago with a frantic warning. From within the caverns of Kragan Rock, Balthus Dyer had recruited an army of chaotics and was preparing them to attack the Vale within the week. The good King Salamon was a man of action. Messengers were sent throughout the Vale that day to prepare defenses and to summon folk to action. Riders had also been sent to the great forest of Yor to warn the half-elves who lived there and to make an appeal for allied forces. King Solomon was also a wise man. He knew well that the news would inevitably reach the Grand Wizard of Yor, a sorcerer of great power, who lived deep within the forest. The wizard was old and would not last through a battle of this magnitude. But he schooled a number of young magicians, and perhaps one of his students in the magic arts, with courage and ambition, would aid the king and his subjects. We are the star pupil of the Grand Wizard of Yor. He has been a difficult master, and our own impatience has often gotten the better of us. Perhaps a little too headstrong, we left immediately for Solomon's court. The king welcomed us enthusiastically and explained his plan. Battle could be avoided without bloodshed if Balthus Dyer were to be assassinated before his army could be amassed. The mission ahead of us is extremely perilous. Balthus Dyer is surrounded in his own citadel by a multitude of appalling creatures. Although magic is our strongest weapon, there will be times when we must rely on our sword to survive. King Solomon has briefed us on our mission and warned us of the dangers that lie ahead. One way through the Citadel is the best for us to take. If we discover it, we will be successful with a minimum of personal risk. It may take us several trips to find this route. Okay? We leave the Vale of Willow and begin the long hike to the Black Tower. At the foot of the hill of Kragan Rock, we can see its outline against the dark sky. Okay, so quick recap. We finally have it in the second book, a really imposing adversary, one whose name we know from the get-go. He's called Balthus Dire. We know he's evil, we know his plan, and we know why he is dangerous and how he is dangerous. So he's a demi-sorcerer, just like probably the Warlock was, but he has plans of conquest, and he obviously wishes to enslave the good people of the Vale of Willow, so here we are heroically helping them. This is a big step up because we are finally playing as a real hero. And yeah, we are playing as an assassin. This sounds from the onset as a suicide mission. Our only goal is to kill Balthus Dire. We don't need to get out of there alive, by the way. So that's not part of our objectives. And there is nothing else to go on but our wits. I don't like this part of the text that explains that there is kind of an easy path through the Citadel, which there is, but it's kind of weird to explain it like that. How could King Solomon know this? Anyway, we set out. We have very little on us apart from some useful magic scrolls, and let's see where we are. But before we do that, I'm going to make the cut of the video here, and we'll promptly start our adventure in the next episode. I thank you all for joining me once again. I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.